It's a pleasure to present and a privilege to speak before you all. My name's Tom Pills, and as Paula mentioned, I'm a Senior Solicitor at LawBase, where I specialise in drone law and have a background in commercial law. The topic of my discussion is drone law, helping your clients to fly through the red tape. So to this end, I'm going to guide us through a discussion of the legislative framework, some emerging trends in the drone space, a rundown of the regulatory developments from 2022, and some of the new and upcoming regulations in 2023. So without further ado, let's have a look at what we will cover. So the topics, so I've peppered images throughout the presentation. They're not necessarily drone captured images, but they're just simply nice pictures to prevent me from assaulting you with slabs of text and to make this presentation slightly more palatable and something pleasant to look at for the next hour. So the topics we're going to look at include the legislative framework, the 7 topics: legislative framework, some terminology, licensing and registration, an update on the noise regulations, looking at the CASA, Civil Aviation Safety Authority regulatory roadmap, trouble in the sky, and the new beyond visual line of sight or BV loss qualification that is pending. So let's look at topic 1, the legislative framework. So I think it's useful to have a look at the primary legislation covering drone operations in Australia, because I appreciate as lawyers, you know how to find the law and search within the law, but sometimes it's useful to know the entire framework in which you are to search the law. And there's a fair bit of a web in the aviation space. So this diagram is really helpful actually, and it's from CASA's advisory circular AC 101 version 2. So that's one of the sources of information which we'll go through. It's a very handy little drop down of how the legislative framework is set out. So you'll see at the top, we've got the primary legislation, that's the Civil Aviation Act 1988. And then under that, we've got all the delegated or secondary legislation, which includes legislative instruments empowered by the Act to issue instruments under the Act and things. And so the Australian civil aviation legislation is based on a 3-tier system, as you can see. So tier 1, the primary legislation, the Civil Aviation Act, and we've got the Airspace Act. Tier 2, as you can see, the regulations. So we've got the CASA, which is the Civil Aviation Safety Regulations, and the CAR, which are the Civil Aviation Regulations. So don't get mixed up. There's the Civil Aviation Safety Regulations, but also the Civil Aviation Regulations, which are different sets of regulations. A bit confusing, but they're separate. And then tier 3 are things like manuals of standards, civil aviation orders, and other legislative instruments.